Well, continuing with our theme of recent times with our unplugged guests, sort of centering around something that's topical. We've often had players that played for both clubs by chance when we've lined up against them, but we are very close to the Paris Olympics within a matter of weeks. And around about the Tokyo time, which was 2021, not 2020, we caught up with Michael Klim. We've got a few other Olympians in the pipeline. Obviously, there was news of another Saints fan qualifying in the swimming in the last 24 hours. But basketball is also topical, obviously, with the Boston Celtics just wrapping up another title in the NBA. And one of Australia's stars across a couple of Olympic campaigns in London and Rio was Rachel Jarry with the Australian Opals, bronze medalist. And for a long period there, Australia were the biggest threat to the United States on the global basketball front. And Rachel, thanks very much for joining us.
No worries at all. Thanks for having me.
How does, I guess for you obviously the last Olympics was your first one out of the sport, but what's it like when this comes around? Obviously the last Olympics were a bit weird with the delay and everything, but does it sort of reignite a bit of a fire in the belly thinking, geez, I remember how I felt before London and before Rio?
Yeah, I think so. It makes me so excited for what the athletes are going to experience. But also I grew up loving watching the Olympics. So, obviously I had a couple there where I was there and you couldn't actually watch everything. So the Tokyo one was great, to kind of be at home and watch everything, and you kind of, don't miss out on any event or any sport. So that was really cool. So I'm looking forward to that again.
Rachel, it sounds like you were a massive sports fan in general. You're a huge Saints fan growing up. And where did that come from? I mean, if there had been the AFLW back then, would you have chosen footy over basketball, or was it always basketball was number one?
I think I might have. I definitely would have played both sports, I think. My dad, is a massive Saints fan. And so he's kind of the reason I go for St Kilda. He sat me down when I was about 5 and said, "This is your last chance to change teams." And he warned me I'd be in for a lifetime of misery, but I stuck with the good old Sainers. And yeah, I reckon he would have got me into it. He had me playing a bit of cricket, which I wasn't too bad at either. But yeah, it just wasn't really an option. But I played at school and everything like that and enjoyed it. And I think my teammates and opponents would say I definitely enjoyed the physical side of basketball. So I think I would have done okay on the footy field.
Everybody always talks about it, particularly with like a Scott Pendlebury and people like that, the basketball background with players' ability in traffic, when there's a lot of players around them to use their hands quickly and that type of thing. So it feels like a sport, on face value, you might look at it and go polar opposites, but there is a fair balance where one skill set could be transferable.
Oh, 100%. I've played with so many players that have gone over to AFL, obviously, and have thrived. So like Erin Phillips, for one, she was always going to be amazing at either sport. Karen Harrington, Tessa Levy, a few others that have been able to transition without having a fully football background. So, there's definitely skills that transfer over. And, yes, everyone in the world is aware that Scott Pendlebury did play basketball at one point. But yeah, definitely that traffic and kind of being able to see a few different directions and the play unfolding and things like that.
Rach, you started your, professional, semi-professional career really early. You were 15 when you made your debut in the WNBL. You're playing at the AIS and learning, training, etc. up in Canberra. What was that like, I guess, as a teenager, all of a sudden kind of thrust into, what was at that stage the most professional women's basketball league in the country?
Yeah, well, I think we won one game for the season and lost probably by an average of 40 points a game. So it was a bit of a shock to the system, but, no, it was hugely beneficial. You just don't get to have that much court time being a development player at the other clubs. So, being able to go through the AIS program, with the other girls my age and, kind of building that, I guess that bit of that sisterhood that carries on into your career, was pretty special. It was hard living away from home. Got into a bit of trouble. I was a bit of a rebel. Kept getting grounded by the house parents on the weekend, but made it through and definitely made me a better player for it.
You you graduated with one other player who was fairly handy as well. What was it like with Liz Cambage obviously coming through and, at least sharing a large part of the journey with another enormous talent, but at least having someone there that had travelled the same path, I guess?
Yeah, 100%. I played juniors with Liz. We played at Dandenong. We played our Vic Metro coming through as juniors, and then obviously at the AAS, and continued to play together for a long time after that. So she's definitely been a massive part of my career, and such a special talent. And I don't think any of her on-court abilities has kind of ever been questioned. She's a larger than life personality, and it's a bit, I guess, probably a bit sad, I guess, what's happened in terms of like public perception of her, because I think deep down she's just sort of a soft teddy bear, and I think maybe a little bit misunderstood. But I understand, I guess, where a lot of her competitive kind of traits come from. And yeah, I just hope she's doing well now. But she's been a massive part of my career.
Going from one win for the season, you end up moving from the AIS when you graduated from there to the Bulleen Boomers, and ended up being a part of their first WNBL championship. What was that transition like?
Yeah, that was a massive change, I guess. I went obviously from sort of being one of the main players at the AAS to kind of having to earn my stripes again with Bulleen. But I was so lucky. I walked into such an amazing team with so many, super veterans on that team that I could look up to and learn off. And then having the likes of Tom Maher and Michelle Timms coaching that team, I couldn't have asked for kind of a better transition into, that semi-professional environment. And yeah, I owe a lot of my development to Tom and Timsy in particular, who kind of looked at me and the way I was playing, and kind of saw where my career could go, and helped me kind of develop my skills in that guard spot. And I think, I repaid that faith by kind of just being that 1% player, and which, he loved about me. So yeah, it was a great relationship. I loved it there.
We'll talk Saints a little bit later on, but heading over to the United States, still relatively young. I think one of the things that surprised people about American sport is how rapidly players can be traded. They can be traded the same day they're drafted. They can be traded the day after a game. It's, you hear about players in American football who get benched at halftime and then traded the next day. It's a ruthless system. But yeah, you were one of those players who was drafted and then traded. And then obviously your time in the US was delayed a bit with the London Olympics, but you went on to win a premiership in your first season, or a championship as they would call it. So what was that experience like with Minnesota?
Yeah. I remember being drafted. I think we'd all got up at 5 a.m. to watch the draft because Liz was getting drafted. And then my agent called me because they obviously cut off the draft, I think, after the first round. And then, yeah, said I'd been drafted to Atlanta. And then, a few people rang me to do interviews. And then half an hour later, it got changed and I was going to Minnesota. So, yeah, and then, I stayed home to continue my development for a year or two before I headed over. But again, landed in just an absolute dream team with our 4 of our 5 starters were on the starting US team. And I think a thing that surprises people is just how great the culture of that team was. I think Americans are kind of known for having that, big ego and kind of thing. And, it's like my way or the highway kind of deal. But, these girls I played with just made me feel so welcome. And, they do have their ego in their own way. They want to be the best, but they wanted to make sure that they did it in the right way as a team. And that's why we won a championship, and we pretty much dominated that whole season. So yeah, I was so lucky, blessed.
It sounds like that period must have been a bit of a whirlwind for about 2 or 3 years, going from winning a WNBL championship to the Olympics to going to the WNBA, and in the middle of all that, there was an incident in Melbourne, which I don't know if it will bring up bad memories or whatever, but there was an incident in the city that had a pretty big impact. I mean, can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I think just that Olympic year, at the start of the Olympic year, I'd actually been out to watched the Big Bash, I think, at the MCG. And after that, was just walking back to my car with one of my good friends, and we were attacked and bashed and robbed by um, a gang of youths, I guess. And yeah, and they went on to sort of do a few other things that night, and I think stab someone in the end. So, we kind of got lucky out of it. But yeah, that had a pretty big impact on me. I was lucky that, the police acted really quickly and arrested everyone. And I guess they went through that justice, kind of process. So I think that really helped me kind of move on from it quickly, as it was dealt with quickly, and not everyone gets that same result. But it was a big thing at the time. I was only 20, I think. And I remember the next morning, which I don't think would happen today, but I had 4 news crews at my front door at 7 a.m. knocking for an interview. And my parents were like, what the hell is going on? So, yeah, it was a massive sort of learning curve in the media and what can happen. And yeah, so.
Yeah, from side note, I went through something very similar and interesting. Your mutual acquaintance is a mutual friend as well. So there's the degrees of separation through all of that. I'm always curious with basketball at the Olympics. It's, you look at sports like soccer and tennis, and you know that the Olympics is not the pinnacle, but I sense it is for basketball, even though people might look at it the same way and say, oh, you'd rather win the NBA or whatever it may be. But I'd like to know, how do you compare a World Cup with an Olympics in terms of where they sit in the scheme of things?
Yeah, I think I've always grown up as seeing the Olympics as the pinnacle, and I think the way sort of Basketball Australia runs their 4-year cycle is that we do see the Olympics as the pinnacle event for us. But I think that FIBA are trying to do a better job of making the World Cup, into a bigger deal. Probably a bad way of putting it, but just making it into more of a pinnacle and following that kind of FIFA style of, everyone in the world tunes in for the FIFA World Cup. So I think FIBA are trying to push that, and it might get there one day. But I think, especially for the women, that Olympics is something that's super special, and I don't think the World Cup will probably ever overtake it.
On the Olympics, London 2012, the Opals win the bronze. I think lost to the States in the semis, I think, and then beat Russia in the third place playoff. What is that experience like? I mean, like Darren said at the top, the Opals have been at the pinnacle of world basketball for a couple of decades now. What's that experience like, winning an Olympic medal?
Yeah, it was so special, and it's definitely one of my most treasured memories of my career. I think I'd obviously in our team, we had a lot of girls that had won silver at previous events. And they said that the experience of winning bronze was so much better because you obviously finish the event on a high, you've won a game, you win that medal rather than losing the gold, I guess. So I think in that way, the whole team could celebrate a little bit more, and it felt better, I guess. But at the same time, we did have our ups and downs in that tournament, and a overtime loss to France in the round games definitely probably cost us the chance at getting into the gold medal game and having to face the US early. But having said that, we did put up a really good effort against USA in that semi. So unfortunately, just obviously couldn't quite get over the dream team. But the bronze was so special.
Before I ask my next question, was that France game the one where, was it Spawn hit the 3-pointer on the buzzer to send it to overtime? Was that
Snelly?
Yeah, I got the player wrong, but I remember being. I was on SEN that time, and we didn't have rights, so we weren't allowed to commentate things. But I remember everybody in the studio reacting to that shot going in, but unable to say exactly what had just taken place, which was quirky enough. But when you compare London to Rio, do you get a chance to compare the countries, or are you just engrossed in Olympic mode and you're in the village and the village is the village? Or is it a case of, hey, I'm in Brazil brings its own unique cultural experiences as opposed to the UK where I was 4 years ago?
I think you are sort of in your own bubble a lot, but they were very different. I think, it's well publicized that Rio probably had issues getting everything ready in time, and that was pretty evident being there. But it was still, an amazing experience. But we weren't really, I guess, encouraged to go out and about too much and embrace the culture, which is kind of understandable. And the village was sort of, I guess, a little bit away from everything. Whereas London, I think it's a dream Olympics from what, I understand of other people's experience. And it was very well run, organized, and, it was it was close to places to go and shop and eat and that kind of thing and catch up with family. So it made it a little bit easier. Whereas, Rio was definitely a little bit different, but both really enjoyable in their own ways. And the weather in Rio was beautiful as well, so that was good.
What's it like in the Olympic Village? Obviously, as Darren said, we had Michael Klim on a little while ago talking about as an individual athlete, I guess, in individual events, as well as relays and that sort of stuff. But what's it like, I guess, being part of a team and a really close bonded team in the Olympic Village? Like, what's that environment like?
Yeah, it's special. I guess you've always got, your buddies that you're going to go and do everything with and be with and check up on each other and make sure everyone's doing the right thing. But yeah, I guess it's sort of, I imagine it'll be a very different experience to an individual sport. Because they sort of house the team sports in one building, because generally we're going to go over the whole 2 weeks. So, and the individual sports might finish after a couple of days and then they get to kind of, have their little party time and their holiday, which is amazing. And we kind of got to experience a little bit of that in Rio. Since we lost the quarterfinal, we had a few days at the end, and that was eye-opening, walking around the village in the middle of the night and seeing there's a whole different world that I didn't know about. So, but yeah, I mean, obviously I love team sports, so I couldn't imagine doing it without a team, but so much respect for those individual athletes that can do that.
Just before Darren goes ahead, I mean, do you get chances to kind of spend time with athletes from other countries? Let's say the US basketball team, etc. Like, in 2012, there were some legends of women's basketball in that team: Sue Bird, Maya Moore. I mean, do you get to spend time with those guys as well?
You definitely get to spend time with other countries and athletes when you get the chance. The USA basketball teams are a little bit different because they don't stay at the village. They generally stay, I think in Rio they stayed on a ship, and then in London they stayed somewhere else. But they come to the village for things from time to time. So you do see them. But yeah, they're a little bit more private, and I think that's just the way they've done it because the men have that. Because even you'd think that being famous would save you in a village, but it doesn't, because there's 10,000 athletes who are like in awe of people like LeBron James and that kind of thing. So they would get mobbed if they were there all the time. But yeah, so they just pop in from time to time and see them when you can and try and get a selfie and go from there.
Now, you weren't old when you retired by any means, but obviously a few injuries over the journey. Could you take us through the decision to retire? And, another quirk of your CV is that you joined the police force. You've got one of the more fascinating CVs I've ever seen. But can you take us through that decision and what that's been like?
Yeah, it's no secret I've had quite a few injury issues over my time, especially with my knees and my head with concussion. So I think I was getting to the end, and I just knew that I wanted to retire when I was still enjoying it, and that my body could still go. So I just felt like it was the perfect time. And yeah, I just obviously have something else work wise that I can fall back to. So I just felt it was a good time to transition into full time work, and miss basketball every day, but I don't, miss getting up and going to training and, eating right all the time and doing all that thing and giving up my weekends. So I think I made a good decision, even though, you know, I do miss that competitive fight every weekend.
What went into, I guess, making the decision to move into the police force?
It's something I've always, I guess, been interested in. My pop was a member, and so he had some pretty amazing stories for me about his experience. And I guess I just wanted to join to help people and do what I can, considering my past experiences as well. And that's just, I guess, what I try and do every day. And it's not the easiest job in the world by any means, and you're not going to make friends every day doing it. But yeah, I just try and go and do the best I can every day for my community.
Now, born in 91, so you would have missed Moorabbin, I sense. Do you have Waverley memories, or did most of your football experience start in the Docklands? And I understand that your parents are adamant your first word was plugger. Is that right?
Plugger, I think Plugger came after like I Shy. So I was a shy kid, so I was I Shy and then Plugger. But no, I think I went to Waverley a few times, but I don't have vivid memories. But I definitely remember going to Marvel and ever since then, and yeah, just I've been to every grand final I could have seen, and yeah, hopefully there's more to come in the future.
You got to train at Seaford when our HQ was at Seaford. I mean, what was that experience like? I guess training with a lot of the guys that you watch on TV and I guess would count as heroes, being as big a fan as you are.
Yeah, that was really cool to see, I guess, their, you know, setup and everything that they've got every day, and meeting a few of the boys. And, you know, we were pretty, well, I was pretty chuffed that like a few of them knew me or the Opals, or at least pretended to know who I was. So that was nice. And yeah, just, you know, getting to be in that professional sporting environment. So yeah, it was good, and there was definitely a few that I'd watched for a long time growing up there.
When you're overseas, what's the experience been like trying to watch the Saints? Is it a case of I'll sit down and watch a replay later, or do you go to the Aussie bars? How did you follow the Saints from abroad?
Yeah, definitely a mix. I would try. I went to a few Aussie bars, and then I'd always try and watch it live. Um, and there was definitely, I feel like in America it was better. Europe was a little bit harder with the time difference, but I definitely did my best to watch live or listen live at least and keep up to date. But I definitely miss my footy when I'm overseas. So getting that fix in was important. And I remember, I think I had my mum over in the States, and I got all my teammates around and had like an Aussie day. And I think I made them like sausage rolls and paddle over and had the footy on, and they absolutely loved it. So I was just trying to get them all on board so they would let me watch it all the time.
A little bit of a basketball Saints crossover that I've just realised, but we had Billy Mildenhall on the podcast about a month ago. He was a referee in the NBL. I know that he did ref some women's games as well. Did you have any contact with Billy? And did you ever talk about the Saints and his playing past with the footy club?
I'm not sure if he would have ref me. He might have, but he would definitely remember if he did, because I was definitely not always the nicest to the referees. So, yeah, I'm not sure. So I can't really probably answer that. But
Fair enough.
if I had have known he was a Saints supporter, I'm sure it would have been lovely for him.
Now, you're doing a bit of research. Your favourite Saints game, I think, might also be mine. Do you have your favourite memory of watching them play, or the favourite game?
Oh, what have you found in your research?
Was it the '05 qualifying final when Robert Harvey ran amok?
Oh, that was really good. Yes, we'll go with that. Yeah, no, there was a few good ones from that time, but yeah, I feel like Robert Harvey was just one of my absolute favorites. So, um, anytime he dominated was amazing. I feel like the one moment when Brendan Goddard got that specky, yeah, in the drawn grand final, that was like oh my God, we're going to win. So that was like the closest I felt to a premiership. But yeah, I mean, look, there's been some really good moments. We haven't quite had the moment for a long time. But yeah, I feel like we've been able to watch some pretty amazing players.
Again, doing a little bit of research, I couldn't find many moments, at least in interviews with you, where you've mentioned that you've been starstruck meeting someone. But there was one time meeting Nick Riewoldt that you said you turned red and you were a bit awestruck. I mean, how does that compare with meeting some of the other athletes that you've met over the course of your journey?
Oh, look, I feel like as a St Kilda supporter, we all understand like just how amazing he is and how lucky we were to be able to watch his whole career. So, I think I just had talked it up so much that I was going to meet him and play it cool. And then I got there and everyone was absolutely razzing me. So I kind of lost it a little bit. But no, he was so lovely and, it was very nice to meet him. And yeah, I got my photo with him and like, yeah, just like I said, just so lucky to have watched his career because yeah, he brought us all a lot of joy, that's for sure.
Just interjecting before I hand over to Nick for his last one. In your role as a police officer, are you able to arrest the umpires from the Port Adelaide game in round 7 by any chance?
Oh, I wish that was, I wish I could. Might have to leave that one. It might be a conflict of interest there, maybe.
Rach, last one from me, but I guess following the team now, I mean, do you get to games these days? Are you watching every week? What are your thoughts on the current team?
Yeah, still paid up member, and I've only gotten to a couple of games this year, but both wins. So I probably should try and
Maybe
go
you
to
should
a
get
few
some
more. Yeah. Look, we're inconsistent, I'd say, and we've had some players that have done really well. Wanganeen Miller has been amazing, and yeah, he's really improved out of sight. So there's a few bright spots. Obviously, it's not where we'd like to be, but hopefully we can finish off the season a bit more consistently, a few more wins, and probably I'd say take that into next year and make that big jump. But I think knowing or having obviously had Ross Lyon as a coach before as our team, I think it does take a couple of years to kind of build that culture and that grind. So I'm not super surprised, but hopefully we can kind of have a few more wins to round out the season.
Well, hopefully over the next couple of months you enjoy St Kilda winning a few more games and enjoy watching a good run for the Opals as well in Paris when that kicks off soon. But Rachel, thank you very much. Congratulations on your journey, and we certainly appreciate your passion for the Saints, and thanks for jumping on.
No worries. Thank you.